Okay, so I'm going to be doing a review of Star Trek Godshock. This was a comic that was sent to me by my good friend Chris. Thank you once again, brother. This was actually the first of the 4 Star Trek books he's going to be sending to me. And I think he's kind of, if I remember right, he said like this is going to be the Star Trek books are going to be like the proto-start of the indie haul. Yeah. But yeah, he asked me basically for December, he was like, hey, what 4 books would you want me to send to you? And I'm like, I was in a very much Star Trek mood, and I was like, can you send me some Star Trek, IDW Star Trek books? And he was like, I got you. So this was the first one. Yeah. So let's talk about it. What is Star Trek Godshock? Star Trek Godshock is written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanning, who I just finished talking about during Captain America: Symbol of Truth. And essentially, what this book is set after, like, in between Voyager and Nemesis. Essentially, what's going on is that this is also kind of a sequel to Deep Space Nine, where Cisco has been sent back to the main universe by the prophets after they discover that gods are being killed off by an unknown source. So, Cisco basically asks help to find out what's going on and who are killing the gods. So, we have like a pretty star-studded cast here. Well, not only do we have Cisco, Data, Crusher, and even Paris from Voyager, and Scotty also appear in the comic. Almost said show. We also have some original characters here too that make their own splash as characters as well, like Kira, who's an Andorian, and there's a Vulcan character. There's a lot of cool, and even Worf makes an appearance too and his series Star Trek Defiant is kind of spun out of that. So, what is this comic about? Like, what is Star Trek? Like I said, this story is about Cisco sent by the prophets to find out who's been killing godlike beings. And it's kind of fascinating because it's very much into Star Trek lore. If you are a major Star Trek fan, you're more than likely going to really love this. This is a Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanning basically pull out all the stops of having a lot of like Star Trek lore and Star Trek like callbacks, but not in like a fan servicey way. It actually like falls into the story. Like it actually plays a major role in the story as well. So I really like this because it kind of the main focus is Cisco, who not gonna split any hairs here, but personally is the best captain. Fight me on that. you guys can argue, can fight me on that Cisco is Cisco is best captain. Just saying. And Cisco has been through a lot. Obviously, his time with the prophets, and now he's come back and he's trying to relearn to be a human. He's trying to reconnect with his son. He's also now with Data as his second in command. He's trying to figure out like how to be, human again. He's been a energy being for so long and stuck so much time with the prophets that he really doesn't know how to interact with people as he used to. That's why he has like Crusher with him and Data, Scotty, Paris. They're all there to help help Cisco re-evaluate his life, because he doesn't know how to, it's been so long since he's been human that he's having trouble recapturing that concept. So that's really cool. There's also a great intro to this book, a great little prologue involving Gary Mitchell from the original series. Gary Mitchell, of course, was from one of the first episodes of Star Trek. He became a godlike being and just kind of Dr. Manhattan himself away. We find out what happens to him, what he's been up to, which was cool. Now, the villains of this book are called the Red Path, and they are being led by Kahless, the clone of Kahless. If you guys remember from that episode, Kahless became emperor of became the emperor of the figurehead emperor of the Klingon Empire. But now he's gained more power and now created a terrorist cell called the Red Path, who are going around with a super weapon killing gods. So it also builds up to an event called the Day of Blood. It more or less is like a big Star Trek event that has this all built up. I really like this, and also, if you're expecting a certain someone who goes by one letter to show up, yes, he certainly does show up. Because, of course, if you're going to do a story where godlike beings are being killed off, then of course you're going to have him show up. Yeah. All in all, if you are a major Star Trek fan, this is a book worth reading. This is very much a book that I highly recommend. It's a very different Star Trek book. It's like Star Trek All-Star, like a Star Trek all-star cast that that's been put together, and they're going on a really cool mission. Does it feel a little fan-fiction-y of having all these different characters together? Little bit. But I think in the context of the story, it's a very solid lineup, and all of the cast really know how to play off of each other. So yeah, if you are a major Star Trek fan, and you want to read something just a wee bit different, here you go. This is the perfect book for you. As for the other books Chris is going to be sending, the other 3 Star Trek books Chris is going to be sending me, the other 3 are as followed: Star Trek Defiant, which is the sister book to this book. You have Star Trek: The Mirror War Collection, or Mirror Universe Collection. Basically, it's a huge big trade of all the Star Trek TNG stories involving the war with the Mirror Universe. It's like, I think all 3 books collected into one volume. And then finally, Star Trek The Q Conflict, which is a big team-up between Star Trek, TNG, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine. Anyway, so, yeah, stay tuned for those, and Chris, thank you once again for this book. But yeah, if you've read Star Trek Godshock, let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of it. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.